Alrighty, everybody, good morning. Beautiful day here in South Georgia. Beautiful morning, thank you, good Lord. We're here in on my place right here. Me and Daisy Mae's roaming around shooting the bow a little bit, and she actually has treated a squirrel and barked so much she's hoarse. So there you go, you hear. But we're not going to shoot the squirrel today. But anyway, some guys had asked me about my scent control, what I use for scent, cover scents, and how I approach hunting the wind and all that. So I thought I'd make a little short video about that. I would rather be making a video about some dead animal laying here I done shot, but I ain't been able to go hunting in a little while. But we're gonna go tomorrow evening and tomorrow morning, Lord willing. So we're about to get back on track with the hunting, and maybe we'll have some hunting videos coming up. But right now we're gonna talk about scent. So y'all stick around. There'll be basically three things we're gonna cover to, how I approach hunting the wind when I'm on foot, walking, slip hunting, and that'll be mostly for pigs. And then the second one is how I approach my stand hunting, or maybe even a ground blind, but let's say sitting in one spot hunting. And then we'll talk about, cover scents and clothes and all that sort of thing. Alrighty, y'all stick around and you'll hear my thoughts on scent control. There we go. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about is slip hunting, and that's what I talk about is hunting, easing around through the swamp, hunting mostly pigs and deer, but deer is pretty tough at the ranges that I have to get to them on foot slip hunting. But most of what I'll be talking about but I approach the wind the same way. Number one, I go into a place and you'll know what your wind is. You'll check the weather or your little, wind check bottle, whatever, when I'm going into a big, huge swamp. And I naturally try to go by what the predominant wind is for that day, that weather. So I'm going in but I zigzag around trying to hunt the wind, but if it reverses, I don't stop and go the other way. Once I've set my mind I'm going this way, that's where I'm going. And then if the wind keeps changing on me, as I approach a thicket or a hot spot that I believe some animals are at, then I will circle and try to get the wind for what it is at that minute. 5 minutes later, it may be the other way. So that's pretty much what I do on foot. And once I get on pigs or I sight some hogs or I'm coming into a thicket where I think there's hogs, like I said, I'll get the wind right and I go to it as quick as noise allows me. Because, and like we'll say, if I see hogs and they're out there 75 yards, well, I'm not killing them at 75 yards. So I will go to them as quick as noise allows me and cover. And I try to cover that really quick. Because here in South Georgia, I firmly believe every minute that goes by when you're within 40 yards of a hog, your chances lessen of killing him if you're on foot, because the wind is going to swirl. So I try to, and you can get 40 yards on a pig pretty easy, and you can get even 30 or 25 pretty easy. But getting that really close, I like that 15 yard or less. That takes some time. So that's how I approach the wind. I try to go by the predominant wind as I'm covering ground. When I sight the animals, then whatever the wind is right then, and I carry a little, most of the time you can feel it on your face, but I carry a little puffer thing, and you can't go by those, like I see people with a string with a little feather on it. You may hold that out there and it's blowing that way, and you'll say, well, that's the way the wind's blowing. But if you do that puffer bottle, it might go that way and then hook around. You'll follow it, and it may go way around different than what that feather's telling you. I don't even have one on my bow. They're useless, to be honest with you, in my opinion. You guys that live in other places in big open country, it may be different, but down in these dips and hollows, these bottoms that I hunt right here, like fell down on the stick, then the scent thing, puff bottle works best. So that, like I said, I get on pigs and try to go to them fast because, and another thing about that, because the wind's going to change, but another thing about that is if you spook a pig because he hears something, if you just sit tight, there's a good chance you can get back on him. But if you spook a pig because he smells you, you're done for the day. Or at least you're not going to follow him and get on him again. And what I try to do is when I get up on pigs, I'm watching them, and usually they're going a direction. Sometimes they're like going to stay right here en route, but they may be headed a direction, and the wind permitting, I'll circle around really quick and get in front of them, and try to get that, let them come by me and try to get that close shot. So that's how I hunt the wind on foot when I'm slip hunting right there. Come here. All right, next we'll talk about how I approach hunting the wind from a stationary place, stand hunting or on the ground, you know, tree stand hunting. I hunt feed trees and sometimes funnels, but most of the time I'm hunting feed trees. And the way, I go to a tree, I check the predominant wind. So naturally, say the wind, I want to climb on this side of the tree's in front of me. Well, I don't like to climb on the east or west side of a tree, because I hunt a spot, I usually hunt it that afternoon, I get set up, then I come back the next morning. If I climb on the west side of the tree that afternoon, the wind's at my back. Well, I come back in the morning and the sun's in my eyes. It might have me glowing out there. And plus the thermals, like in the afternoon, the thermals, like if I'm setting the trees in front of me, west is behind me, and I'm sitting there, and at deer time, you know, the thermals are going like this, and so I'm good. But then when the sun drops, almost every time for about 15 minutes here in the south, it'll reverse for about 15 minutes, and that's usually right at deer time. And so I'm wrong. And the same thing happens in the morning. If I climb on the east side of a tree in the morning with the sun at my back, everything's good, the sun will come up, and then a lot of times the wind will hit that lull and it'll go in front of me. So I like to climb on either the north or the south side of the tree, if possible, with a predominant wind, and not have the thermals or the sun in my face. You know, the sun, I don't want the sun in my face if I climb on the east or west side of the tree or the funnel that I'm hunting, if that makes any sense. And then I'd rather hunt the north or the south side of the tree, wind permitting. Y'all get my thoughts on how I climb. And I do approach the same way on the ground blind. Same thing is especially on the ground blind, because I'm going to be close. The tree, I believe you get away more with movement than you do scent, because you're like above their line of sight right there. And once the leaves get off all these trees, you probably have more cover on the ground sometimes. But as far as the scent goes, I'll run that one more time. I don't like to climb on the east or west side of the feed tree I'm hunting, because afternoon hunts, I'm setting sun at my back, then I come back to the same tree, I leave my stand there, sun's in my eyes in the morning. And the same way with the thermals, back until you guys know about the thermals going up or down, the east or, you know, to the sun or away from the sun, how that works. So you climb on the north or south side, it helps you with the thermals, and it keeps the sun out of your eyes. There you go, that's my hunting situations for stand hunting, or ground blind, stationary hunting, I guess you'd say. Another thing, hunting the funnels. Say if I got people think you got a 60-yard funnel, you go climb in the middle, and most of us can't shoot 30 yards, but you have 30 yards on this side and 30 yards on that side. But what if the wind is cutting across, then you've killed one whole side of the funnel. So when I go to a funnel the first time I climb it, as I'm trying to figure out the sweet spot of that funnel, I'll climb in the edge, the very, very edge of it, with the wind coming, you know, at my face, until I figure out the sweet spot. Because if I go on and climb in the middle and deer come on the back side of me, or the side that I've walked past, then they're going to, you know, and the wind's like that, then I've ruined that. So I work my way into the heart of a funnel each time I climb until I find the sweet spot, meaning where the majority of the deer are coming through. And you can't always tell it by tracks, I mean in the woods here. I mean, it's hard, I mean, dimples stuck in the ground right here will stay there for months, and it'll be maybe covered with sign. So that don't always work for you. You have to, you have to, unless you're going to use trail cameras, which I very seldom do. I got a couple of them, but I don't hardly ever use them, especially on public land. But you have to find the sweet spot of a funnel by hunting it. And like I said, I don't try not to climb on the east or west side of the main run of my funnel. There you go, that's my wind direction hunting for stands and ground blinds. Next we'll talk about scent control. All right, as far as scent control goes, I don't use any scent, any kind of like store-bought skunk pea, fox pea, none of that stuff. I wash my clothes in baking soda, or I do use, you can buy that green soap, I forget the name of it. It don't have a smell. like in a shampoo bottle. You can wash in that. Well, I wash my clothes in that sometimes, but I usually just use baking soda and wash my clothes in baking soda. And when I put them in the dryer, I throw a handful of that in there with them, and then I hang them up in a closet that's not mixed in with all my other. It's just straight hunting clothes in that closet in a spare room that we have. I don't do no spraying down with stuff or none of that. It may work, it may not, I don't know, but I firmly believe that the bottom line is, if the wind is wrong, you're gonna get smelt. It's really that simple. So I'm gonna do my best hunt the wind, and like I said, I'm not gonna wash myself with no shampoo-y type stuff. I wear rubber boots, and I hardly ever get smelled from where a deer walks, and it smells where I walk through. Maybe one time in 5 years that I can remember that happened. Now, a hog, you're not going to beat a hog's nose where you walk. He's going to smell it regardless. And they smell better than a deer does. But, I mean, I'll get out, pump gas, whatever. There's nothing magical about it. When I usually start in the swamp, I try to walk through some water and scruff my feet off real good. If I'm hunting a persimmon tree, when I go to the persimmon, I'll already be scouted it, so I have me 3 or 4 persimmons in my hand. When I walk up, I drop them on the ground, scrub my feet on them, and then go to my stand. And I have killed deer that walked to the persimmons, I scrubbed with my feet, and then walked to my stand. They were tracking that persimmon scent. I've played with scrapes. That's actually why I bought my trail cameras. I've tried some of that mock scrape stuff and put cameras on scrapes, and I won't say the name brand, but I have used some that the only thing happened, the coyotes come and peed in it. But I have used some in that deer came to them, and they were coming to the scrape anyway, but I had a lot of pictures of them. All right, we'll talk, let's talk a little bit more about the clothes and stuff. People buy let's see how to word this, those scent-free clothes, the ones that's supposed to make you not, the scent-away clothes, the deer can't smell you. I firmly believe that. I don't see how that can work. And I mean, I just don't see it working. I mean, if you think it does, then you and your buddy jump in the truck, go eat some Mexican food, put your scent lock clothes on, sit in the truck and roll the windows up and see how long you can stay there. I don't think it works. It's my opinion. I believe you got to hunt the wind, and I believe if the wind's wrong, you're going to get smelt, and it's nothing but either poor planning or bad luck as far as the wind changing on you. It just happens down here. You learn to live with it. But and as you hunt a place, when you go in a place that's new to you and you hunt it, pay attention to the wind, what it does as it gets later in the evening, how the wind changes. Because unless there's a front coming, the next day it'll do the same thing. And so you'll learn places that the Weather Channel may tell you the wind is wrong for that spot, but you've already hunted it enough to know that it makes a swirl, and so you're good. So you learn these places by experience, and you can even keep notes on them, on what good winds are. A little bit more about terrain. We'll talk about terrain here. Like I hunt swamps, and I won't hunt real close to the river or a big open slough because the wind always is crazy right there. So I mean, it's like you have those places where you climb every time and you see deer every time, but you never kill one because you always get busted. And stop wasting your time hunting places like that. Just because you keep seeing deer, you keep going back and getting busted every time. Stop hunting those. Get away from them places and hunt something that the wind is more predictable. And you can get, I won't hunt places like if there's a steep bank coming off into the swamp, and then it levels out, they say a persimmon tree right there, I usually won't hunt it because in the afternoon the scent will pool around that bank. There's nowhere, it just pools right there, and you'll get busted right there unless you can hunt on top of the bank and kind of on the north or south, get away from where the thermal's going to drop it down. You can play with something like that, but the main thing I do is have enough places found that I can hunt. I got somewhere to hunt with a good wind. All right, there you go. You got my thoughts on scent control and hunting the wind. And it is what it is. I don't think there's no secret recipe for it. I think that you do your best at it. Try to use the thermals to your advantage. Definitely hunt I'd rather hunt I can't have the sun on me when I'm hunting. And so, I mean, you have to, that's why I say the north and south side of the tree, if possible, or the trail, or, you know, whatever you're hunting right there. That's just my thoughts on the wind down here in South Georgia in these beautiful swamps right here. Now, what happens when you get up in rolling hills and mountains, I have no clue. But this works for me. It's what I've been doing forever, hunting, and fairly successful at it. So maybe coming up soon, we'll have this old hill style northern miss here laying across something. We're gonna try to get to go hunting here pretty quick. Thank y'all for watching. Holidays coming up. Happy holidays to y'all, and Thanksgiving, and appreciate you. Thank you, good Lord, for a fine day. See y'all next time.